Hi, so today we'll start with the discussion on a primer on a scales of measurement. So basically in the next 2 to 3 minutes we'll discuss on different primary scales of measurement, levels of measurement. Then we'll discuss into details of different scales, comparative scales and non-comparative scales. So primary scales of measurement are four kind: nominal, ordinal, interval, ratio. In any kind of research, social science, management, academic research, business research, wherever you do, any kind of questionnaire will fall into either of these categories or any of these categories. Either your question can be in nominal format, ordinal format, interval, or ratio format. What are those? Nominal is only for identification. If I say nominal is basically name, right? If I say your roll number is 37, your like kind of a social security number, this, right? So that is only identifies you. Though those are numbers, their property is only to identify a person. Ordinal is when I can order them, right? If I say that okay, you belong to I belong to less than, let's say, there are different income groups. Somebody in a low income group, someone is a medium income group, somebody may be in a higher income group. Interval, where I can measure the difference between groups. In ordinal, I cannot say how, by how much amount, by how much kind of income the medium income group varies from low income group, and by how much income the higher income group varies from the medium income group. But in case of interval, if I can measure the difference, if I can say that okay, this is the difference between these two groups, then it will be interval scale. Let's say temperature is a good example of an interval scale. Let's say in my city, the city right now where I am staying, the average temperature is 35 degrees centigrade. My hometown may have a temperature of 38 degree, average temperature of 38 degrees centigrade. Then I can always say that the temperature difference between these two cities, my hometown and the city right now where I am living, may be 3 degrees centigrade. But temperature doesn't have an absolute 0 point. So those scale of measurement which have an absolute 0 point, those will come under ratio. So ratio is basically your height. Height have a absolute 0 point, starting 0 point, right? Your weight, absolute 0 point. Weight cannot be negative. Your height cannot be negative, right? So in social science, very few scales are there, or very few questionnaire which you can make where it will be a kind of a ratio scale. If I ask you directly what is your income, what is your annual income, or what is your monthly income, or what are your monthly expenses of your family, to exact a number you have to just put down some numbers, then in that case it can be a ratio scale. So we'll quickly move into different scaling techniques. So primarily there are two kind of scaling techniques: comparative scales and non-comparative scales. Let's first cover the comparative scales, then we'll go back to non-comparative scales. Comparative scales are four types: paired comparison, constant sum, rank order, and q-sort. So let's get to paired comparisons. Paired comparison is when I show you different product, different brand, and anytime a respondent, like let's say if I ask you, there are like let's say four different, in India there are like Netflix, Amazon Prime, or different OTT, right? Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hotstar, and YouTube Premium. If I say that okay, compare any two at a time, you will, so what you'll do, you'll compare Netflix with Amazon, Netflix with Hotstar, Netflix with YouTube Premium. If you rate that service, OTT service, better than the compare with which you are comparing, then give a rating of 1, else give a rating of 0. Okay, so let's say I'm comparing Netflix with Amazon Prime. So here if I put 1, that means in the I have to look into this column, right? If I put 1 here, means I prefer Netflix over Amazon Prime, I prefer Netflix over Hotstar, I prefer Netflix over YouTube Premium. So Netflix got a total score of 3. Similarly, if I compare Amazon Prime with Netflix, it will automatically become 0 because already I have given Netflix, I have preferred Netflix over Amazon Prime. So automatically Amazon Prime, when I compare to Netflix, it will become 0. There is no rating for Amazon Prime with Amazon Prime. So that's why wherever Netflix compared to Netflix, that is blank. Amazon compared to Amazon, that is blank. When I compare Amazon to, let's say, Hotstar, let's say I prefer Amazon Prime more than Hotstar, then I'll put 1. I prefer Amazon Prime, let's say, than YouTube Premium, then I'll put 1. So in that case, total score I got for Amazon Prime is 2. Similarly, I'll do it for Hotstar. Similarly, I'll do for YouTube Premium. So let's say if I have like how many brands, how many, 4 brands. So how many comparison I have to make? 4 into 3 divided by 2. That means total 6 comparisons I am making overall, because that once I make those 6 comparisons, other comparisons automatically will become 0. So what are the 6 comparisons? Here I'm making for Netflix 1, 2, 3, for Amazon Prime 2, Hotstar 1. So these are the 6 comparisons I made. Automatically the other comparisons will become 0. So this is one way to do the pair comparison or the use the comparative scales. So this is little bit tricky if let's say you have 3 or 4 brands to compare it, like this can be done. But let's say if you have to compare 10 brands, like so each customer has to do at least 10 into 9 divided by 2, that means around 5 into 9, 45 comparisons, which is kind of a very tedious job for a respondent to do. So that we have to take care of. We can do this kind of use this kind of pair comparisons whenever we have let's say 3 or 4 brands to do. More than that, it will be very hectic for a respondent to respond to that question. Next one is rank order scaling. So let's say I have different 5 brands of toothpaste. I want to rank them. I have asked a respondent to rank them. So basically, how many choices you are making? If let's say I have these 5 brands, the answer is not 5. Basically, I'm making 4 choices, because once I make those 4 choices, the last choice is already done, right? Because I have to rank them. So if I say that I ranked these 4 brands as 1, 2, 3, 4, then the last brand is obviously is going to be 5, right? So in earlier case, if I had n product, how many comparisons I used to make? N into n minus 1 divided by 2, right? So that was your for paired comparison. In case of rank order scaling, total kind of choices I have to make is n minus 1. That means if I have 5 brands, actually I'm making 4 choices, because once I make 4 choices, that fifth choice will be already taken care of. Next one is constant sum scaling. So in rank, either in paired comparison or rank order, I do not know the difference between the ranks, right? I just have a ordinal property of data. To have a better property, sometimes this attribute can be taken as your interval data, or sometimes we can take the constant sum as our ratio data. How is it? Let's see. Let's say all of you, like those people who have joined MBA colleges, I ask those students on what basis you made a choice to join a MBA college. Let's say after theoretical literature review, I have got this 5 major key attributes student take care of, a student go through to make a choice. These are the parameters through which students evaluate to join a MBA college. That means college infrastructure, the ranking, the national ranking of that college, placement statistics, faculty, and specializations available. So what I'll asking those students, give each of those attributes certain points depending upon your liking, or depending upon how important that parameter is to you to make that choice, right? So if whichever parameter is most important to you, that parameter will get the highest point. But ensure that once you add those points, the total point cannot exceed 100. The total point has to be 100. So if I have let's say this 5, and I'll ask each student to give their uh, points to each, like I'll allot 100 points to each student, and they have to allot those 100 points to different attributes depending upon their importance to them, right? So that data, let's say someone gave 20 to infrastructure, 20 to ranking, placement 30, faculty 20, and specialization 10. Okay, then once I get the data from let's say all the respondent 200 or 300 respondent, I collected data. I can treat this scale as a ratio scale, because I'm just getting solid numbers, right? And it will have a absolute zero. Here zero means that that attribute doesn't hold any importance at all to that respondent. Only tricky point is if I have, so let's say I have lesser attributes, I can use always this constant sum scale. If I have larger number of attributes, 10 to 15 number of attributes, it becomes a very difficult for a respondent to alert each attribute certain points, 5, 10, 5, and he or she has to ensure that the total sum is 100. Though use of software, that calculation he or she doesn't have to make, but at least he has to allot those points to each of them, which again becomes little tedious. Q-sort is basically if I have 100 or 200 attributes and I am asking respondent to sort them out, right? So in that case, we can use a Q-sort. Let's say in my previous company, what we did, let's say there are like different activities in a project we used to do. In terms of importance, not important at all and very much important in a 7 point. So we created different boxes, 7 boxes, and we asked the project team members to put there like those 100 or 150 activities were there. Each of them we asked, we for each of them we gave those 100 cards where activities were written, and they put them into different boxes. The boxes were like not important at all, to certain important, to certain extent, very much important, cannot say. So like that, there were 7 boxes, and those respondents started putting those activities in those boxes. It is basically kind of a algorithm sorting process which you can easily use to sort out larger many of activities or larger number of attributes. Next, coming to non-comparative scaling techniques. Non-comparative scaling techniques are of two types: continuous rating and itemized rating. Continuous rating is something where like let's say it is with the use of computer it has become little easier. So a person can scroll from the left hand to right hand. At any point he can put his cursor, and that will be the point assigned to whatever that attribute we are checking. If let's say somebody checked into hotel, what is her or his experience staying in that hotel for 2 to 3 days, right? So that person just can scroll this X sign from very poor experience to very good experience, right? So that is how continuous rating scale works. Likert scale, it is kind of the most used scale. So this will be part of itemized rating scale. So what happens? I'll put 1 as strongly disagree to 5 as strongly agree, right? It can be of a, generally we use 5 point scale. Sometimes we use 7 point scale. So generally 5 point scales are like strongly agree, uncertain, disagree, and strongly disagree, right? So the question will be in terms of always in form of a statement. I cannot ask a question. It will be a positive statement or a negative statement, and I have to ask the respondent to whether they agree or disagree, right? So like in this case, I have asked a question. I believe that the lockdown policy by governments across the world will help to stop the spread of coronavirus. Strongly disagree to strongly agree. 3 being the neutral point. Next one is semantic differential scales. It is known as bipolar scale. So for this, I have to create two different adjectives, opposite antonyms, and again it is like a 5 point or 7 point scale where, like let's say, how was the experience in that hotel. So it will be like whether it was exciting or calm. Or let's say if I give you a question to my student, I give a question and I ask each of them how did they find that question to answer, simple or complex, right? So they have to put a tick mark or put a cross mark in those boxes. How if they found that question to be simple, they have to put cross mark or the tick mark closer to this simple. If they found it complex, they have to put that tick mark or box in towards the complex part. Next one is tuple scale. In the kind of bipolar scale or a semantic differential, the problem was that we have to create two adjectives. We have to create two antonyms where people can understand that. It may not be possible every time. So what happens in a tuple scale? I just need to have a one adjective, and I'll put different kind of positive numbers and negative numbers. What happens? How did you find the your experience in a retail outlet, right? Let's say if somebody wants to understand how was the experience in a big budget, neutral point being 0. So how was the quality of product? High quality, +1 to +5, -1 to -5. If somebody puts here X, that means quality of the product he or she did not find to be good. That means the quality of the product was very poor because it has come under negative scaling. Similarly, poor service, if they put it as plus, that means they are saying that the service was very poor, right? So that is how tuple scale advantage is I'm just creating one adjective, and -5 to +5 or -3 to +3 correspondent can rate it, 0 being the neutral point. Sometimes we use graphic scale. It is easier to use, like most of the feedback form if you have seen. So how did you like our service? Sad, happy, neutral, right? So this is the easiest scale to use. Balance scale means if you have like positive options, negative options equally, right? If I say Game of Thrones season 8 was extremely good, I have 3 good options and 3 bad options, right? So that is